You are sitting in a room that doesn't exist. It is a construct of your own mind. The walls are gray, the air is stagnant. You are perfectly still. You believe you have achieved the ultimate victory of the modern psyche. You have stopped caring. You have looked at the chaos of the world, the heartbreak, the rejection, the financial terror, the screaming noise of the digital age, of it all, and you have turned the volume down to zero. You feel strong. You feel untouchable. You resemble the marble statues of the Stoics you scroll past on your phone screens. But there is a secret hidden in the basement of your limbic system, a biological failsafe that you have just triggered. By the time this transmission ends, you will understand why the silence you are feeling right now is not peace. It is the calm before a neurological collapse so violent, psychologists have a specific, terrified name for it. We will get to that name. But first, look at your hands. Are they shaking? No. That is the problem. You entered this state because the pain was inefficient. Sadness was a distraction. Anger was a liability. So you reached for the off switch. You engaged in what clinical psychology calls emotional blunting, but you rebranded it as focus. You convinced yourself that apathy is an evolution, a higher state of being where the logical cortex reigns supreme over the primitive, messy amygdala. You are wrong. You have not evolved. You have initiated a decomposition process. You are rotting from the inside out, and the smell hasn't hit your conscious nose yet because you severed the nerve. Let us dissect the mechanism of your mistake. You believe emotions are software that can be uninstalled. You treat grief, anxiety, and joy as applications running in the background, draining your battery. So you force quit them. You swipe up. But the brain is not a computer. It is an ecosystem. When you attempt to not care, you are not deleting data. You are building a dam. Imagine a river. That river is cortisol, adrenaline, dopamine, and serotonin. It flows based on external stimuli. Someone insults you. The river surges. You lose a loved one. The river floods. The act of not caring, the active, conscious suppression of emotional response, is the construction of a concrete wall across that river. For the first few weeks, it works. The water level rises behind the wall. But downstream, where you live, it is dry. It is quiet. You feel a surge of power. You walk through fire and feel no heat. You look at a tragedy and feel no sorrow. You are the protagonist of a noir film, the detective who has seen too much and feels nothing. But water is heavy. Physics is absolute. Here's the first fracture in the concrete. It is called the ironic process theory. Discovered by Daniel Wegner, it is the psychological equivalent of a Chinese finger tap. The more you try to suppress a thought or a feeling, the more prominent it becomes in your subconscious processing. You tell yourself, I do not care about her. To maintain that state, your brain must constantly monitor your psyche for evidence of caring. It must scan your thoughts for her face, her name, the memory of her voice, just to ensure you are effectively ignoring them. To not care, you must obsessively focus on the object of your indifference. You are not letting go. You are holding on so tight your knuckles are white, but you have draped a cloth over your hands so you cannot see the strain. Look at the person next to you, or the person you used to be. Do they look calm, or do they look dead? There is a difference between a pond that is still because there is no wind, and a pond that is still because it is frozen solid. One is receptive, the other is brittle. If you strike the ice, it shatters, and you will shatter. Consider the energy cost. You think apathy saves energy. You think emotions are expensive. But repression consumes glucose at a rate that rivals high-intensity problem-solving. Your brain is burning
fuel to keep that dam holding back the water. This is why you are exhausted. This is why, despite feeling nothing, you wake up tired. You are running a marathon while standing still. Your body is fighting a war against its own chemistry. This is the phenomenon of high-functioning alexithymia. You lose the words for your feelings. You don't say, I am sad. You say, I am tired. You don't say, I am lonely. You say, I am bored. You strip the nuance from your existence until you are left with a binary code of okay and not okay. But the body keeps the score. You cannot gaslight your own nervous system. You tell your mind, I don't care, but your vagus nerve hears the lie. Your heart rate variability drops, your blood pressure creeps up. The cortisol that you refuse to process emotionally does not evaporate. It seeps into your tissues. It inflames your joints. It eats at your stomach lining. You are trading tears for ulcers. You are trading anger for hypertension. You are trading heartbreak for a heart attack. Ask yourself this. If you cut the wire to the check engine light in your car, did you fix the engine Or did you just ensure that you will not know the car is exploding until you are engulfed in flames? The clinical descent deepens. We move now from the biological to the existential. When you successfully numb the pain, you commit a spiritual amputation. You cannot selectively numb. You cannot say, I will not care about the bad things, and expect to still care about the good things. The dial is universal. When you turn down the volume on grief, you turn down the volume on joy. You turn down the volume on love. You turn down the volume on the taste of food, the warmth of the sun, the thrill of a new idea. You become a gray ghost haunting your own life. You attend parties and mimic laughter because you remember the mechanics of it, but the feeling is hollow. It is a performance. You watch movies and understand the plot, but the swelling of the music leaves you cold. You have achieved safety, yes, but the price of that safety was your humanity. You are safe in the same way a corpse in a morgue drawer is safe. Nothing can hurt you anymore, but nothing can reach you either. This is the danger of the Sigma narrative, the internet's obsession with the unbothered archetype. It sells you sociopathy as a virtue. It frames emotional detachment as strength, but true strength is not the absence of feeling. True strength is the capacity to feel the full, crushing weight of the world and not break. What you are doing is not lifting the weight. You are putting the weight down and walking away, claiming you are stronger than gravity. Gravity always wins. Let us go deeper into the vault. Let us talk about the rebound effect. The dam we spoke of earlier, it has a capacity limit. Eventually, the pressure of the repressed emotion exceeds the structural integrity of your psychological defenses. This often happens during what should be a minor event. You drop a coffee cup, a traffic light turned turnig, someone cancels a meeting, and suddenly you are not annoyed, you are homicidal. You are weeping on the kitchen floor. You are screaming until your throat bleeds. The dam breaks, and the floodwaters do not just wash over you, they drown you. All the grief you didn't feel 3 years ago, all the anger you swallowed last month, all the fear you ignored, it arrives all at once. This is the psychotic break. This is the nervous breakdown. This is the moment the calm man picks up a reffle. The brain seeks homeostasis. If you deny it the release of emotion through natural channels, it will force the release through unnatural ones. It will manifest as panic attacks that strike you in the middle of sleep. It will manifest as depersonalization, where you look in the mirror and do not recognize the face staring back. You feel like a pilot controlling a meat mech from a remote distance. The world looks 2D. This is your brain pulling the emergency eject handle because the cockpit is full of smoke you refused to acknowledge. There is a terrifying statistic lurking in the data of cardiovascular studies. People who habitually suppress anger are not just unpleasant to be around, they are dying faster. The mortality risk increases. The immune system falters. Your T cells, the soldiers of your blood, become sluggish. Why? Because your body is in a constant state of low-grade fight or flight, but you have engaged the parking brake. You are revving the engine to the red line while in neutral. Something has to give. Usually, it is the arteries. Now pause. Listen to the silence in the room again. Is it still peaceful? Or does it sound like a fuse burning down? We must confront the shadow. Carl Jung warned us about this a century ago. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. When you try not to care, you are feeding your shadow. You are taking the parts of yourself that are hurt, jealous, petty, and scared, and you are locking them in the basement without food. They do not die. They get hungry. They get feral. The person who tries not to care about status becomes the most status-obsessed person in the room, but disguise it as intellectual superiority. The person who tries not to care about love becomes the cold manipulator, using people as objects because they are terrified of being used. You become the thing you hate. You project your suppressed emotions onto others. You see anger in everyone else because you refuse to see it in yourself. You call the world hysterical because you are internally screaming. You are building a bomb. The casing is your stoic face. The explosive is your repressed trauma. The detonator is time. Let's look at the interpersonal cost. Relationships require resonance. They require a feedback loop of emotion. When you stop caring, you sever that loop. You become a black hole. People pour love, attention, and concern into you, and nothing comes back. Eventually, they stop pouring. You think you are protecting yourself from rejection, but you are engineering your own isolation. You are pre-rejecting the world before it can reject you. It is a preemptive strike against intimacy. And when you are finally, truly alone, sitting in that gray room of your mind, you will tell yourself, this is what I wanted. I am independent. But the human animal is a pack animal. We regulate each other's nervous systems.
This is called limbic resonance. A baby dies without touch. A prisoner goes mad in solitary confinement. By emotionally detaching, you are putting yourself in voluntary solitary confinement while walking through a crowd. You are starving your brain of the oxytocin and dopamine loops it needs to maintain sanity. The clinical term for the endgame of this behavior is anhedonia. It is a core symptom of major depressive disorder, but you have induced it artificially. It is the inability to feel pleasure. The food turns to ash. The music turns to noise. The sex becomes friction. You have successfully fireproofed your house, but you did it by removing all the oxygen. Now nothing can burn, but you cannot breathe. You think you are observing the world objectively, but you are not. Emotion is not just noise, it is data. Fear tells you what is dangerous. Guilt tells you when you have violated your own code. Sadness tells you what matters to you. Anger tells you where your boundaries are. When you stop caring, you stop receiving this telemetry. You are flying blind. You make decisions based on cold logic, but logic without value judgments is psychopathy. You might maximize profit, but destroy your family. You might win the argument, but lose the friend. You become efficient at winning games that do not matter. There is a concept in trauma therapy called the window of tolerance. It is the zone of arousal where you can function effectively. Above the window is hyperarousal, panic, rage. Below the
Will is hypoarousal, numbness, dissociation, the not caring state. You think you have widened your window. You haven't. You have just camped out in the basement of hypoarousal. You are hiding. Let's analyze the cool girl or the stoic man trope. It is a social camouflage. It is a defense mechanism born of a culture that pathologizes vulnerability. We are taught that to care is to be cringe, to try is to be desperate. So we adopt the pose of the cynical observer. We speak in irony. We dress in indifference. We treat our own lives as a joke, so that if it fails, we can say we weren't really trying. But this irony poisoning seeps into the soul. It creates a barrier between you and sincerity, and without sincerity, there is no meaning. Meaning requires investment. It requires risk. It requires the possibility of pain. If you cannot be hurt, you cannot matter. Now consider the neuroplasticity of the brain. Your brain rewires itself based on what you practice. If you practice detachment every day for 10 years, you are physically altering the structure of your brain. You are atrophying the pathways of empathy and connection. You are strengthening the pathways of dissociation. You are terraforming your mind into a desert. It is possible to damage your emotional capacity permanently. You can forget how to cry. You can forget how to love. You can become a philosophical zombie, an entity that looks human, acts human, processes information, but has no internal experience. The lights are on, but the house is empty. And here is the terror of the loop. The more numb you become, the more extreme the stimuli you need to feel anything. This is the path to addiction. This is why the Wall Street trader needs cocaine. This is why the adrenaline junkie needs to jump off a cliff. The subtle joys of life, a sunset, a conversation, a meal, no longer register on your desensitized sensors. You need shock. You need violence. You need chaos just to feel alive. You destroy your life just to see if you can still bleed. The silence in your gray room is getting louder. The pressure behind the eyes is building. You wanted to stop the pain. That was the goal. But pain is the body's way of saying, move your hand off the stove. By severing the connection to pain, you have left your hand on the burning coil. You smell the smoke, but you feel nothing. You are burning. Let's talk about the gray event. This is the Zeigarnik loop we opened at the start. The gray event is the moment of total systemic failure. It is not a loud explosion. It is a quiet implosion. It is the morning you wake up and realize you cannot move, not because you are paralyzed, but because you have run out of why. The logic has eaten itself. You have deconstructed every reason to live, analyzed every emotion as a chemical trick, and debunked every dream as a delusion. You have successfully not cared your way into nihilism. And unlike the cool, edgy nihilism of teenagers, true nihilism is a suffocating void. It is the realization that by killing your suffering, you killed yourself. You are a biological machine waiting for the power to run out. But there is a crack in the wall. There has to be. If there wasn't, you wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't have felt that twinge of recognition when I described the numbness. That twinge is the signal. It is the last functioning nerve in the dead limb. The paradox is this. The only way to stop the suffering is to care more, not less. It is called radical acceptance. It is the terrifying act of dropping the shield. It is standing in the rain and getting wet. It is letting the heartbreak shatter you so that you can reassemble the pieces into something larger. The Japanese art of kintsugi repairs broken pottery with gold.
The break is not hidden, it is highlighted. It becomes part of the history. When you try to not care, you are throwing the broken pot away. You are trying to buy a new one made of plastic, but you are the pot.
You cannot throw yourself away. You must descend into the body. You must locate the physical sensation of the emotion you are suppressing. Is it a knot in the throat? A heat in the chest? A coldness in the gut? Observe it. Do not judge it. Do not tell it to go away. Just say, I see you. This is the beginning of the thaw. It will hurt. It will hurt more than the numbness. The blood returning to a frozen limb is agonizing. It feels like fire. But that pain is the evidence of life. It is the evidence that the tissue is not necrotic yet. The danger of immediate detachment is that it works too well. It is a narcotic. It is morphine for the soul. And like morphine, the withdrawal is brutal, but you must withdraw. You must detox from apathy. Look at the world. It is on fire. It is loud. It is messy. It is demanding. It wants your attention. It wants your heart. It wants you to care. And it is dangerous to care. You will be hurt. You will be betrayed. You will fail. But the alternative is the gray room. The alternative is the flat line. The alternative is the statue that cannot move, cannot speak, cannot love. The secret I promised you, the revelation that connects the open loops, it is this. You never stopped caring. You just buried it alive. And the thing about burying things alive is that they scratch at the coffin lid. The anxiety you feel, that isn't a disorder. That is the scratching. That is the part of you that loves the world, desperate to get out. That is your humanity fighting for air. You have two choices. You can keep shoveling dirt onto the grave, reinforcing the silence, cementing the wall until the gray event takes you and you become a walking ghost. Or you can pick up the shovel and dig it up. You can let the monster out. You can let the pain hit you. You can let the tears come. You can scream. Because the silence isn't peace. The silence is death. And you are not ready to die, are you? Tick, tick, tick.